XRP post-election results when we saw that big run up in crypto. It outperformed most every cryptocurrency out there. Why? Why do we see that happening in the ETFs where XRP is holding steady, has many days of inflows, and we see just massive outflows going out of Bitcoin and Ethereum? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, and we're going to break it down here. But I think it's an indicator that's going to continue. And when we see crypto erupt and go on a full-on bull run, well, I think you know what to expect. XRP is going to outperform. So we're going to break that down. There is, something I don't think that's getting enough attention. A lot of the partnerships, a lot of the adoption that's going on in the background. We'll break that down quite a bit. Let's just jump into it right here. Now, I put this up. XRP, it's beaten Bitcoin by 2.5x since the February 6th crash. It's rebounding quite well. Why is that? And this isn't something you'll hear from the mainstream narrative here, but XRP had spent 4 years artificially suppressed. Meanwhile, the fundamentals continue to improve. We got a stable coin, we got new features, we got new adoption. Like, there's a lot going on here, and we're seeing a lot of XRP being pulling off exchanges, specifically Binance, but a lot of them. Why is that happening? Well, smart money is accumulating. They're buying this dip, and it's really showing in the XRP price and the available supply on exchanges. And it's quite simple. The value is there for XRP. It was wildly undervalued. Yeah, there's a lot of growth potential in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Make no doubt. There's going to be a ton of adoption of Ethereum. But XRP, it's a compounding thing. We're going to see that adoption, that growth. But also, the coin is just undervalued because it was under attack by the SEC. It was delisted. And we got a lot of catching up to do just to get to kind of some quasi-fair value, and then we can start tacking on growth. It is the deal of all deals out there within cryptocurrency value, and I think that's really what we're seeing. You see a lot of, ETF outflows for Bitcoin and Ethereum because they've had a long time to build up some significant assets under management. XRP a little bit later to the party, a little undervalued, not quite enough in there. So we are seeing the few that have already started to accumulate. They're not giving up on those positions. Their investments are sticky because they understand the growth potential going forward is quite large for XRP, not just because of all the advancements and adoption, but because it's undervalued to start. And that's what's really going to give us a big pop here as we go on this massive growth run that will eventually happen. Now, I'm no Nostradamus. You have the people reading the charts telling us all this stuff, whether we go through a long bear market first or any moment this area erupts. That doesn't really matter. The fact is, if you're investing in cryptocurrencies right now and you want one of the big ones, one of the ones with a lot of market cap, well, XRP has a lot of potential there. And I think that's what we're seeing. Now, not enough attention is paid to this. Everyone is watching BlackRock and what they're doing with Bitcoin. And that's about ETFs and investment capital from institutions. But no one's watching like BlackRock using the XRP Ledger. That's happening already. We just discounted it. Like, oh, no big deal. It's just another chain BlackRock's using. Like, what? This is a big, big deal. BlackRock is using the XRP Ledger to settle their BUIDL fund. Really, for institutional assets, like that's the really gold standard there, isn't it? And they're leveraging the XRP Ledger. We see 500 million plus. I think it's actually in billions now. The BUIDL platform, it's integrated with the XRP Ledger. MasterCard, they're running settlement pilots. And remember this, pilots, like we see even with Franklin Templeton here, with tokenized loans. It's not like the past. When you saw a pilot in 2018, it was going to take so long to get to adoption. Like, no, they are ready to go now. They are going to start, using this technology today to begin to scale. So when you see a pilot, it could be a hop, skip, and a jump from full-on integration and scaling at any moment. Using a pilot in 2026 is a whole different story here. And they're using this for real customers, real flows. So that's a big game changer here. Infrastructure. From my mind here, you've seen BlackRock using the XRP Ledger, MasterCard, Franklin Templeton. To me, that infrastructure play, that's bigger than even the ETF. And I'm a fan of ETFs, and I think it's going to add a lot of value to these crypto assets over the long term. A lot of big money, a lot of sticky investments falling in. Don't get me wrong, ETFs are big, but actually using these blockchains as a technology, that's the game changer. That's a whole different story, and that's what you got to look for because that's where the value is going to be long term here. And understand this. You think BlackRock's not going to have an XRP ETF when they are using the XRP Ledger today? And if you're like me and you truly believe XRP Ledger is fast, efficient, and scalable, if it's going to solve the problems of BlackRock better than other chains, you know how much they're using the XRP Ledger is only going to grow over time. It's going to be more significant for MasterCard and Franklin Templeton because it's a technology that works. And that's the differentiation here. It's not just a fun pilot. It is a technology for the future that actually works here. Now, XRP Ledger, they just activated this token escrow. So I did a video on this today here. And a lot of people are thinking like, oh, this is just, another feature, no big deal. Oh, no, this is a big deal. Remember this, every escrow requires 0.2 XRP to be locked up, but you got to scale this across trillions in institutional RWAs and stablecoins and all sorts of other value at scale. That's going to lock up a lot of XRP, and they're going to have to do it because locking up a little bit of XRP is far cheaper than paying high gas fees and all this other stuff. So, of course, they're going to gladly do it. It's going to have a compounding effect over time. But understand this. What does this mean, this token escrow? Well, typically, you can only escrow XRP. You can't escrow other issued assets. Well, this is the game changer here with XLS 85 here on the mainnet. We're going to have bonds locked as collateral, the biggest collateral there is really out there, and can be released programmatically when payments actually clear. So we don't have to have someone in the middle verifying all this stuff. Of course, it's going to lower costs, but it's also going to be a lot safer. Of course, you're not going to make mistakes. The ledger don't make mistakes. Either the loan has been paid or it hasn't. You lock up that collateral. It's as safe as it gets here. CFOs automating treasury releases tied to delivery confirmations, no manual approval. So again, lowering costs and also making things more efficient and safer because if it's happened, then it gets released. Tokenized securities, of course, with T+0. Essentially instant settlement here. We've brought settlement time down quite a bit here recently. Gary Gensler did that. I think he brought it back to the same settlement we had like in the 70s. Good for him, but we need instant settlement, and that's why they want to tokenize securities. They want stock, bonds, every other asset to run on 24/7, 365 autonomous markets. That's part of the future, and something like this will allow us to do exactly that. RLUSD stablecoin can be escrowed until goods are delivered. This replaces legacy letter of credit systems. Again, just taking a lot of risk out of the system. You make your payment, but the payment isn't final until those goods hit the mark. And once they do, then the person gets paid and everyone's happy. You got your goods, the supplier gets paid. This is a much more efficient system. And market makers can prove liquidity locks without third-party attestation. So again, we're lowering that attestation cost. And also, we don't have to rely on a third party. This is a regulatory compliance that's baked into the protocol. This is a game changer. And again, as we see there at the bottom, you gotta lock up some XRP to do that. And to each individual that's using this system, each enterprise, that's cheap. That's nothing, but in totality, it's going to bring a lot of XRP off of the market because you're adding so much utility to the future of finance here. Now, Tom Lee, he's saying what we're seeing out here in reality is rage quitting by crypto investors. And this is bullish because it tells us we are closer to the end of this sell-off than the beginning. A lot of people out there, a lot of smart people, are saying that this is just the beginning to something long and protracted. Tom Lee saying no. This is towards the end. We're going to recover, and then it's off to the races from here. We'll see it play out. Try to bring both good and bad perspectives to you so we can have a well-rounded view of the market. Vitalik, an investor in Polymarket, says markets are catering to dumb options. He argues they're over-focused on crypto price bets, sports gambling, chasing dopamine, instead of real society values. I say let the markets kind of figure out where value is. It might seem stupid to me and Vitalik and other people out there, but ultimately the money's going to dictate what is important, and that's the value of these markets over time. There's real money behind it, and that's what really society values, in my opinion. Interesting post here by Minus Wells. Make sure you follow him on X, but he says Jeffrey Epstein was secretly plotting with future SEC Chair Gary Gensler on crypto. Man, these have been a bombshell. I never expected there to be so much stuff in these Epstein releases related to crypto as we are seeing, and it's huge. Epstein frantically texting Larry Summers. Remember, he was the Treasury, head of the Treasury. And when people scoff at the fact that the SEC can be corrupted, I mean, if you can get to the treasury, you can get to anything. Gary Gensler, he says, is coming in earlier. Don't know him, but he wants to talk digital currency. So they're talking about, hey, we need to talk to Gary about currencies. Then we see a follow-up bombshell to Steve Bannon. I'm with Gary Gensler on crypto tomorrow. Can talk around 7 a.m. And lastly, he goes on to say this wasn't some random chat. Epstein was coordinating schedules, name dropping, and apparently ready to deep dive into the future of digital money with the guy who one day would unleash the most brutal crackdown in crypto history, at least on competitive technologies to Bitcoin. Now, what's interesting in all of this stuff, we can see like, Blockstream and the fact they want to go after competitors and other people. A lot of times Epstein doesn't really tell us what his views are. He's just kind of collecting a lot of this information, going to who knows who, could be government agencies, whatever. But it's interesting. We get a peek into, behind the curtain, what was really going on. And what's clear, there's a lot of power brokers out there that wanted this market to go one way and wanted to attack competition like XRP, like Ethereum, surprisingly. A lot of stuff going on here. And we saw how it played out. And exactly, you even hear Gary Gensler today. He'll say, well, Bitcoin's great, but everything else is a scam. Like, is that really his opinion? Or was he told to promote that vision of the future? We're going to get to the bottom of this. A lot of stuff we still got to comb through. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.